What is going on, everybody? So welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing GBPUSD's price action from the month of July. So last month, I'm going to be walking you through all of the opportunities which you could have capitalized on according to the strategy which I teach on this channel. Don't worry if you haven't seen any of my previous videos. I'm going to be walking you through the full trading plan and system which I use beforehand. And if you would like as well, this full trading plan will be completely free in the description of this video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and let's head over to the charts and we'll get right into the backtesting. So welcome to the video. If you haven't seen any of my previous videos, I'm just going to quickly walk through the trading plan. If you have seen any of my previous videos, I'll put a timestamp up here so you can just fast forward to the backtesting itself. But for anybody new, just a quick rundown of the system which I currently use and that we're going to be using to backtest the month of July in this video. So the first stage is always to just identify the overall structure, trend, what the fundamentals are telling us as well. So for example, at the moment you have a certain event that the Fed will cut interest rates in the US next month, which is a bearish signal for the dollar. So at the moment, fundamentally, I'm bullish on all XXX USD pairs. So gold, GU, AUD USD, Euro USD, and obviously bearish on USD pairs. So identify overall market structure and direction. I usually do this on the daily and the 4 hour, but I also break it down to the 1 hour and 15 minute in order to identify those sort of intraday structural points and levels, and just to make it a little bit more precise. The second step is to identify an area where we're looking to either buy or sell from. I have two types of these. The first one is simply an imbalanced area of supply or demand. We need to see some liquidity above it if it's demand, or liquidity below it if it's a supply, and it needs to be following the order flow. What this basically means is that if, for example, if we just go over to the chart, so if we have a trend like this, following the order flow just simply means that I'm only looking to buy once we get the pullback between the low and the high, or slightly below this low if it's just a sweep of the low for buys. But the point being, if price comes like all the way down to here, I'm not looking to the left for an area of demand to buy from. If something like this happened and price clearly broke past these structural points, I would be then looking for a pullback to sell instead, unless this was a clear liquidity grab into, like a lower time frame point of interest to buy up, but that's a bit more past this video. So the second type is very similar, but it's simply when we see a higher time frame area of liquidity, and then we see the confirmation entry afterwards, which I'm going to explain in a moment. But basically, this is the same as the type 1 point of interest in that it needs to also be following the trend. So if we're in an uptrend like this, say we have something like this, I'm only looking to buy after a sweep of the previous liquidity, and I'm not looking over to the left to then sell if price sweeps the liquidity. So point being, this also needs to be in line with our higher time frame bias. If price is bullish, we're only looking to buy. If price is bearish, we are only looking to sell. And then that brings us to step 3, which is to know exactly when and what validates an entry once price is in our point of interest. So if price is within our demand zone or within our supply zone, when do we actually execute a trade? And this is what I mean by confirmation entry. So if price is in the 4 hour area of supply or demand, I'll go over to the 15-minute time frame and I will simply wait for a break of structure so that the 15-minute time frame realigns with that higher time frame. So if you imagine price coming to, if we go back over to the charts, so price is heading down to our higher time frame demand zone to the left. On the 15-minute, this looks like a bearish trend because it's a higher time frame pullback. Once price comes into our demand zone right here, we wait for a break of that most recent lower high, then a retracement, and then we look to buy. And if the point of interest was identified on a time frame lower than the 4 hour, so the 1 hour or the 15-minute, I'll look on the 5-minute time frame for the entry instead, and I will never go lower than that. And yeah, criteria for a valid entry after we see the break of structure is just simply an imbalance level of demand or supply. For example, here we have the break of structure, price then pulls back into imbalanced demand, and then we look to buy. For the targets, I normally target the next low or high. If it's more than or equal to a 1 to 3, if I can't get a 1 to 3 at least, then I won't take the trade. And then a bit more of a discretionary target rule that I have is just to target previous areas of liquidity where I know that it's likely price will react or potentially reverse from. 1% risk per trade always. If I get stopped out, I'm not looking to re-enter. I'll come back the next day and then see how it goes from there. I only make break even when there's some high impact news coming out, so NFP, FOMC, CPI. Other than that, I just let the trade run to take profit or stop loss. Something I've backed up through data, by the way. That's not just a random rule. And yeah, like I said, it must be a minimum of a 1 to 3, otherwise we don't take the trade. So that was a quick rundown of the trading plan. Let's head over to FX Replay now, and we will start the back testing. So quick, I also wanted to say before I start this back testing, obviously July was only last month, so I've very recently seen this price action. So the point of this is not to back test in the traditional sense of collecting data on the strategy, but it is rather just to show you guys any of the trades which were valid according to this strategy and walk you through them. And it also helps, I do this a lot just to basically train my eye and my brain to see the setup live, as obviously they've already happened now, but FX Replay is basically as close to live conditions as you can get. So I'll do this sometimes just as sort of like a training session, if you will. So yeah, at the time I was bullish higher time frame. I saw that price had reacted from this demand after having swept these lows. And then if we go to the lower time frame, the trend that I was focusing on at the time was this sort of 4-hour bullish trend that we were in, where we can see that we initially broke this 4-hour lower high. That was the initial sign that price was flipping from bearish market structure to bullish market structure after tapping in to the demand and sweeping these lows. Notice how it is significant as well that price needs to take out the liquidity before we see this, otherwise this would not be valid. Marking on the other structure, we have this break just here, and then this right here, I wasn't really seeing it as structure. The reason being, we had all of this liquidity below. As we can see, we had all of these lows, and then we had these lows down here as well. If we go back on the daily, we can see that price has not really reacted from anything where you would expect it to reverse. It's kind of just, pushed from this resistance level, formed these relative equal highs. And if we zoom in a lot closer, what we can see now is that we have this imbalance on the daily. Price took out the final bit of liquidity, which led into this imbalance. And then we were looking for buys. So what date was this? The 26th of June. I'll actually show you guys that this was a trade which I called live. Yeah, so if we keep going back, oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, so there we go. This was my analysis on the 25th of June. You can see we had that daily liquidity level was swept into the imbalance, and then I was looking for buys. That is exactly what we have just seen here. That group is free, by the way, and it is in the description below. I send my analysis for GU and gold at the start of every day. So this liquidity level was swept. We also then had a sweep of this low. This trade is still valid because it is still within this sort of daily imbalance. So we've had a sweep of that low. I then saw that price had broken this hourly structure just here. Price had then come down, reacted from this area of demand, which was the one which swept the lows to the left, and it had left this imbalance. Price also took out this liquidity in the process. And then once price came into that point of interest, we go down to the 5 minute because it was an hourly demand zone. We can see that price broke this structure here, pulled back, took out this last bit of liquidity. This entry, however, I would have entered here, something like this, and then targeting probably this high, or maybe a little bit higher because this was only a 1 to 2. But this entry happened on the 28th of June, and we are backtesting July. So obviously I'm not going to take that. If we just fast forward to July, actually, there we go. So this was the 1st of July. What I saw at the time was that price had broken this structure. We then had another break of structure. And what I was anticipating at this point was very clearly price is unlikely to reverse from anywhere in here, just because there's no sort of liquidity for it to react from. I was anticipating it needs to at least take this for either it to reverse and continue bearish, or just to break past it and then continue higher back towards this high, because overall on the daily time frame we were overall bullish. So once I saw that, I went down to the lower time frames to see if I could see any areas to enter from. At the time, however, price was kind of just consolidating like this until it did end up taking out this high, as I said, and then we got the sell-off. I think this was a news event, probably it was at 2 o'clock, but yeah, once I saw that, I was then anticipating price to at least sell to this wick. So I had that marked on as an area where we could potentially still see buys, because keep in mind, price is still technically bullish at this point in time until if it breaks this low, because it did end up flipping from bearish to bullish at this point in time here. So if it comes back into our demand zone, it is still valid at this point in time to look for some more buys. And if we play price came into that level. So then we go down to the lower time frames. Again, it's a 1 hour point of interest, so we're using the 5 minute. And the structure that I wanted to see it break at the time was the most recent lower high, which was this one right here. And eventually it did end up breaking that high. We then had this sort of area of demand, which was the one which broke that structure. So this would be the area where I was looking for a pullback into. I would have had stops probably 10 pips just around it below this area, because price could also, grab this demand into this area and then continue up. So this was an area where I was very much interested in buying from. And because we had this huge news wick where we know that liquidity is resting, I was just targeting the top of that. So place the order. And I don't believe this pulled back. Yeah, so in the end, what we can see, price just continued up. Sometimes that happens where you just get, your confirmation happens, but then you never see a retracement. That's completely fine. It's only probability after all. But what we can do in scenarios like this is adapt to what price has done. So what we have to think now is that price has broken our structure. This was the demand we were originally looking to enter from. But is it likely that price pulls all the way back down here and then reacts from this area? Probably not. So what we can do is basically draw on some new points of interest. This one or this one would also be valid. And I won't just set a limit on these. I will look for lower time frame confirmations, since, you know, price could come into either one of them. So for this, we go over to the 5 minute and we look to see if there's a valid confirmation. So again, in this case, you can see that on the 5 minute, there's not really any structure for it to break. So there's probably not going to be a valid entry. And yeah, there we go. So price broke this high again without giving us a valid entry. So let's keep playing it and see if we can get some buys up to that high. Okay, so once again, following this 15-minute structure, we had a break of this structure. Areas where we could see price come into, we have this 15-minute demand. We could see price sweep this low for the buys, or we could even see it come into this area. Those were, all three of those potential scenarios are valid for me. So let's react to which one holds. At the moment, I'm liking this one because price took out all of this. So yeah, let's see how it reacts. Remember that a sweep of this zone was also valid. Yeah, so there you go. It rebroke the highs. When price is moving like this, you know, you can't really get an entry with this strategy, but that's completely fine. Yeah, and there we go. So it broke that main high. So we can zoom back out, get rid of this because that was that internal trend. We are now looking at this main trend, and we're looking to trade this now up towards this high, which is the current daily high. So let's see if we can get an entry. Currently not seeing any valid point of interest, so we'll just let price do its thing. Let's have a look. So we could see price maybe react from this, or on the 15-minute, we also have this one a little bit below. Okay, so I like this actually. Let's have a look at what price has done now. So the demand was taken out. Price then has broken the structure on the 5-minute. This isn't currently enough for me though. I want to see it go a little bit higher, because this could just be a liquidity grab for then price to take out the low. This was probably market open as well. Yeah, so around 10 o'clock. Not seeing much at the moment, but let's keep playing price and see if anything presents here. Okay, so there we go. That's a valid entry. We had another breaker structure, clear area of 15-minute demand. I like this one as well because if we zoom in, it grabbed these lows to the left. It also grabbed these two equal lows. If you haven't watched my previous video, by the way, I go into detail about how when you see areas of supply and demand that grab previous liquidity, they are much more likely to hold, and those are the ones that I typically go off. So this would be a valid trade. Just to make that a 1 to 3, we're going to make the stops a bit smaller, because if price does break this level, I don't really want to be in the trade. And let's see how this plays out. Okay, so we got tagged in. Let's look on the 5-minute to see if we could have also got another confirmation. Okay, so no, price just grabbed the high straight away. So yeah, what I would be doing now, like I said, I don't make trades break even, so I would just let this play out to stop loss or take profit. At the moment, it's looking good though. Cool, there we go. very simple trade, liquidity swept, breaker structure. We then had another breaker structure, pull back into demand, targeting the high. And yeah, so now we can kind of get rid of all of that. Mark on this as a new breaker structure. One thing I'm not liking at the moment is that we have all of this trend line liquidity resting below. You can see price was very correctively moving up. So yeah, that is quite a likely scenario, I think, that this gets taken out before we see any more buys. But let's just have a look what price wants to do. Okay, so maybe not. Once you see this and price moves up all the way like this, you know, it's not likely that you will see it come all the way back down to here. So what could we see now? Again, I'm looking to target this daily high. You can see that it's also kind of this resistance level. So you can imagine the majority of people are trying to sell this, but that's exactly why we're looking to buy, take them out, and also take this high. The next liquidity level that I'm seeing is this 4-hour low right here. So if that gets taken out, then I will look for some buys. But apart from that, I'm not seeing anything valid above it. So it's just a case of waiting for that to get taken. Again, I'm not trying to sell because price is overall bullish. Okay, nice. So liquidity was taken out. Let's have a look what the lower time frame says. So at the moment, the structure that I want to see it break is this one. Or if it comes lower, regrabs these lows and then break structure, that would also be valid. Let's play this on the 15 so it's a bit faster. Hasn't quite got there yet. There we go. It's not looking like it's going to pull back though, to be honest. Yeah, so there you go. It just went straight up, broke the high. No valid entries there. And there we go. So now it has also broken that main daily high. So we can get rid of this because this was the internal trend within this overall daily bullish trend. So we've got this daily breaker structure. Once that gets taken out, you can anticipate, you know, a bigger pullback. And we could also look to the left to see where this could potentially reverse. So one area that stands out, we have this liquidity level, which leads into this imbalance. So if price breaks this, you could very much see a a bigger pullback on the daily. Okay, so I also like this. Price has not yet taken that liquidity level, but it has just taken out, you know, all of these lows. on the lower time frame, it also broke structure with this move up, and this would be the 15-minute demand that I would look to go from. So this is a valid trade. Let's set a limit here. And target would be this liquidity level right here. Again, that is a 1 to 3, so that is more than enough. And the reason I'm targeting this liquidity is because it's sort of the last point before you have, you know, this area above. So you will very likely see a reaction from this. there you go. And like I said, once that gets taken, you see this sort of reaction. So you want to be out of the trade, unless obviously you're very confident that price is going to head back to this high. So what we could see here, either this was a liquidity grab for price to continue up, or we see price sell more towards this wick, which was, I think, the NFP wick. So you could see that taken out. But basically at this point in time, the only thing I would be doing would be waiting for price to either break this or to grab this low. So let's see what it does first. It's looking like it's going to take the high. There we go. So it took that high. We have this sort of area of demand. So let's enter this and target this liquidity. Actually, you know what? That wouldn't be very valid because, you know, we could look to buy up to this high, but it's only a 1 to 1.3. So like I said, I only take trades if they're a minimum of a 1 to 3. And yeah, the price never pulled back anyway. But remember, this line that price has just swept is that daily liquidity level. So it is very likely that you will now see some sort of bigger pullback, maybe towards this low. You also have all of these equal lows down here. If we go back to the daily, price is overall still bullish. You can see that we came into the daily demand, took out these lows, and price has now taken this daily high as well. So overall, the daily time frame is still bullish, but we could see a reversal on the lower time frames from this point here. So let's head over to the 15 and see if we can see a lower time frame confirmation. Again, if we're looking at the 15-minute, the most recent higher low is really this low right here. So I wouldn't be looking to sell until that low gets taken out. So what I would be doing at this point would be either waiting for this low to get taken or for price to potentially break this high and then just continue up. So I would have alerts set at those 2 points. But until then, nothing's really valid for me. So there we go. So daily liquidity taken, we have a break of this main hourly structure. So that would be a change of character for me. And what we'd be looking for then would be a pullback to then short to at least this low. You can see we have all of these equal lows down here leading into this imbalance. So we could see a reaction once this liquidity is taken, but I would be looking to sell down to it. The area I would sell from would be this sort of 4-hour supply zone. Either price reacts from this or we get a sweep of it for then sells, but either of those two scenarios would be valid. So let's see if price can pull into our zone. A good sign as well that this is likely to continue lower. You haven't taken out this liquidity and we've left these sort of equal lows. So you wouldn't expect price to reverse and go back bullish until that is taken. Also, just look at how it's moving very, very correctively, building all of this liquidity. And it has, you know, no bullish momentum, so you wouldn't expect it to just completely rally back towards the highs. Okay, so price is now in our 4-hour level. It took out this inducement to the left. So even if you don't see a complete sell to these lows, it is likely you will see some sort of reaction. So let's head over to the 5-minute. And there we go. So this would count as a confirmation. As I said, I don't go below the 5-minute, but just to make it a bit clearer, we can see that price created a higher low, higher high, and then it created this lower low. So that was actually a change of character. We have this 5-minute imbalanced supply. The reason I like this as well is you can see it was a clear sweep of the high and then price broke down, and we have all of that liquidity below as well. So I would enter here, stops probably rounded to 7 pips just above the high, and we will target the Asian lows, which were here, and that gives us around a 1 to 4, which is more than enough. There we go. So pull back into our area, and very nice. The trade is looking good. Very confident in this as well, because we had, you know, all of this trendline liquidity just below. When price is moving like that, you can kind of anticipate that this was just a pullback for more sells rather than a reversal. And there we go. TP was hit. Still expecting price to go lower though, towards this low, and also remember we have this liquidity just below. I'm also just going to mark on this demand area. Once this area of daily liquidity is taken out, you expect a reaction. Remembering that price is overall bullish on the daily time frame. So yeah, at any point this trend could continue and we could get the buys again. So once this is swept, or if price comes lower into this demand, that would be a valid area for me to buy from. Right now though, I wouldn't be looking to trade this unless price can re-grab this high and then give us another sell confirmation, as this is just sort of like a messy consolidation. You don't want to be involved in this. But there you go. Price has broken this structure once again. And I'm not seeing anywhere to sell from. So like I said, the liquidity was taken. So if price comes higher, breaks some of these highs, then we can look to buy. Or another valid buy zone would be this demand zone that we've marked down here. There we go. So price has now come into that demand. The high we want to see it break is this one. There we go. So price broke. We have lower high, lower low, higher high, and also look at where price is retracing from to the left. It hasn't yet taken out any liquidity, so you would at least expect it to come up higher and grab some of these previous highs, which is why I'm confident in taking a buy just here. Look at the momentum as well. This very big bullish candle with literally zero top wick. So we can enter this, and I'm going to target the Asia highs, which were here, and that gives us around a 1 to 3. So let's see if price can tag us in. Damn, so that just missed us, annoyingly. Oh, that was annoying. But yeah, the trade kind of played out if it would have tagged us in. What we can see now, so let me just head back over to the daily. So yeah, daily is overall bullish. We've sort of retested into this previous high, which price broke out of, taken out daily liquidity as well. So we could see bullish continuations from here. In order to see that though, I'd want to see this high taken. So let's see if that happens. All right, so instead, we've now had another break of this low. So I think price is coming lower, probably towards the next daily level, which was probably like down here. Let's actually mark it on. So this was the daily trend. The next area where I would look to buy from would be this daily demand down here. And why is that? Well, we have this whole leg. This is liquidity. I wouldn't buy from here because above it we don't have any liquidity for price to take out, meaning that this is probably going to be the liquidity, and then this is the next demand zone below that. So I'm looking to trade down to there. We have this clear hourly bearish trend as well. Next sell zone at the moment would be if price can take out this high, or not if it breaks this low again. So next sell zone would be, we have this 15-minute supply, or another valid scenario would be if price can come into this one and take out all of these highs. But let's see if price retraces into one of those. As with the trade above as well, look how correctively price is moving, meaning that this is unlikely to be a complete reversal. We've left all of these lows below as well. Price just took out this, so people are now looking for, so that the average person is basically seeing this as a breaker structure to retest, to buy, meaning that we're going to look for some sells down to these lows. Price is within our area of supply. We now need to see a 5-minute breaker structure. Okay, so this high was taken out. The next level we want to see broken is this area in order for the trade to be valid. There we go. So 5-minute break structure. And the area I would look to enter from would be this area of supply. So I'm going to set a limit just there. Stops above this high. And we will target the trend low down here. And actually I'm going to make this a slightly smaller stop loss, so it's a 1 to 3, because if price comes up to this zone, you know, I don't want to be in the trade. If we look closer now, you also have this as a sort of area of liquidity for price to grab before going lower. Price is also just within this random imbalance, so you wouldn't expect it to turn back bullish from there. Second entry you could have got, we had a re-break of these lows and then a retest into this area of supply, so that could have been another entry if you missed the first one. But yeah, now just looking to hold down to these lows, and there we go. So price has now broken that low again. And we're looking to trade it down to our area of demand. We're almost coming to the end of July though, so because this video was backtested in July, I'll end it once we hit August. But what we could see now, we obviously have this huge sell move. If price can pull back there at the moment, this area of supply would be valid for some sells. There we go. So let's have a look within this area. Once again, 5-minute time frame for the confirmation in this case, because it was a 15-minute point of interest. There we go. So I like this. We had a sweep of that high, break of 5-minute structure. In a scenario like this, I wouldn't even wait for a pullback, just because, you know, the stop is only 9 pips and we can get a decent, you know, a decent range down to these lows. So because this is already a 1 to 4, I'm not going to over refine the entry and wait for a pullback, say into this zone. Market execution here would be fine for me. If we place this, change it to market execution, and I'm targeting these 2 lows down here. But in reality, we are expecting price to come all the way to these lows. But I think that if price grabs these 2 equal lows, you could see a bigger pullback. and I'd rather just secure my profits there if price can come down. Let's play this on the 15-minute as well. Okay, so I'm liking that. It also broke this 15-minute structure now. If we draw that on. Before it sells, you may see like a retest of this region. That was the previous structure it broke out of. And if I hadn't got that initial 5-minute market execution, I would have set a limit on this area of supply. I'm not going to set this because we're already in the initial trade. But if we have a look on the 30-minute, you can see we have this 30-minute level of supply up here. We've had that breaker structure as well, this left imbalance, and we have some inducement below it. So just for the sake of the video, I'm going to set this. In the live market though, I would not place both of these. I'd be happy with the initial entry. Okay, so that one was tagged in. Quite a risky stop loss on this one, just above the high. Probably in the live market, I would have it a bit more conservatively like this, which again is still a 1 to 4, so that's more than enough. And there we go. So these lows were taken. Let's see if we were right in predicting a reaction. There you go. So have a look what happens. Once these lows are grabbed, you get a bigger pullback. I'm still expecting price to target this low though, particularly now because we have all of these lows built up here. If I was looking to get back into this trade, I would probably look to do so now because we've had a grab of this high. Most people would be seeing this as a change of character to buy, but we know that because all of this liquidity is below and we have this low below as well, price is likely to sell instead. The structure I'd want to see it break for this to be confirmed would be this low. I think I missed the entry there. So we had a closure below just here and then a retest of this supply zone. Let's see if price wants to retest that actually. So if price retests into that supply, I'll look to get in and target just a 1 to 3, just below that low. I think I did a market execution there by mistake. Yeah, there you go. So that was a stop loss. Wasn't really the best trade, to be honest. Still expecting the sells though, after a regrab of that high. But yeah, this now would not be something I'd look to get involved in because it's just consolidating between the high and the low. So I would just be waiting for another breaker structure or for price to break higher. But yeah, there we go. That was the July review. As I said, I have already seen this price action, so I know the higher time frame direction, and this is obviously in hindsight. So the point of this video, once again, was not to collect data on the strategy because obviously this would be a very biased sample, but the point is to sort of train your eye and your brain to see these setups in the live market so that your reaction time is quicker, and basically just to train, you know, as an athlete would train. You're basically just training in your trading to see these setups and to practice executing them in the live market. And it's also good to go back over the month to see how your performance was and how it could have been better. Were there any trades you missed? Were there any unnecessary losses? And of the trades that you did take, which of the winners that you took, which ones were, you know, actually valid and which ones were sort of you just executing against your plan? So all of these are important questions to ask, and the point of backtesting is not simply to collect data, in my opinion, it's also to practice executing and seeing the trades happen live. If you guys enjoyed this video and you made it this far, make sure to drop a like below this video, comment below if you want to see more videos like this where I go back through and backtest. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you in next Friday's video.